The list that everybody was waiting for finally came out. Yes, I'm talking about the Argentine national team. It's been a source of political talk. It's been a source of just talk in general. It's every day, in every hour, in every minute in television in that country. It has been which will be the 35 lucky players, who will be the 23, who will be the 25, who will be the 27, who will be the starting 11 for none other than Jorge Sampaoli when he returns. And many are underwhelmed, some are disappointed, and everybody, regardless of how they feel, should feel that way. Sampaoli has been rather underwhelming. He's been able to find masterful ways of avoiding questions. He's found really weird ways of avoiding questions. He's found ways to really irritate people in the media on a consistent basis. By saying a whole lot of nothing, he's really gotten into a whole lot of something. Why? And I explain myself because when you start looking at how he's worked with this national team and how he got the job, ends up making people a little bit suspicious and ends up making people a little bit more precautious as far as being able to really jump on board and start really supporting a team that the coach really doesn't have a vision. When he started talking about the players that he left off, he started saying, well, they play a certain way. But then a few minutes later, well, it was because they didn't play a certain way that, they had certain capabilities that didn't have capabilities, and sometimes they were able to, and then the form that they had was very indicative. Now, when he says that and he starts talking about his starting goalkeeper and Sergio Romero this year in 2017-2018 has only played 10 matches. He brings in Franco Armani, who pretty much within the Argentine football radar just got into it maybe a few months ago when he made the transfer from Atlético Nacional in Colombia to River Plate. But mind you, people did know what he was doing, as he was a Copa Libertadores winner back in 2016 with the Colombian Giants. Now, if you start to see how this whole drama built up, Armani has been probably the most solid goalkeeper in South America the past 3 years, bar none. He has been able to play at a consistent level. He's been able to raise the level of play at River Plate, understanding that he was so integral in helping River resurrect pretty much from the dead and really make themselves for the second half of 2018 into really bona fide contenders to win the Copa Libertadores for a fourth time. That's fine. But then you start looking at some of the players that were called up. Cristian Ansaldi of Torino, he's adequate. And as you start going, you start, really naming names, and you start saying, well, yeah, this player can play here, this player can play there. Ansaldi can play, is a right-footed left back that has always played inverted. Now he's going to try and convert him into a right back. A lot of versatility, a lot of players that you start to see, and you're like, okay, well, fine. That's something that can be done. That's something that's really important to look at when the grand scheme of things becomes how you can start patching up holes in certain areas. Then you start to look at, wait a second, is there a need to patch up holes? You have players such as Gabriel Mercado that are coming in with knocks. Players like Kun Agüero that's coming in with a knock. And I heard a great point here. What is going to happen up top? You have the same four as always. And many can start talking about the reasons why Mauro Icardi did not get called up to the national team. And yeah, there's not a lot of internal vibe with him. There's been a lot of uncertainty as far as his ability to gel within the group. He was never a group guy. All these theories and all these unconfirmed reports of Mauro Icardi not being able to transform that ultimate undisputed leader that he is at Inter into a leadership role, or at least a secondary leadership role within Argentina. Now, that, as crazy as it may seem, obviously the player that everyone was talking about coming back was Gonzalo Higuain. That's perfect. Gonzalo Higuain's a great forward. But, as I've mentioned in the past, do I want Gonzalo Higuain playing in the final of a World Cup for me? My opinion exclusively? Probably not. There's a lot of demons that go around his head when those types of matches come around. But every warrior needs a moment to try and vanquish those demons. I have to be fair. Now, just what if Gonzalo Higuain gets injured or catches a cold or something where he cannot play? You're depending on a player in Kun Agüero who might not be 100% to play as a number 9. And when you start crossing balls and you start having all these types of situations, then you start dealing with those types of things where you have a player in Kun Agüero that might not be too dependable or might not be capable of doing what Gonzalo Higuain is capable of doing. Di Maria, that's another one. We've seen that he's had a propensity in big moments to break down. Will he break down once again? And do you have a replacement for him? You don't. You do not have a replacement for Angel Di Maria. You do not have a replacement for him. And that starts becoming very worrisome, especially as the tournament continues to wind down and gets deeper and deeper. I mean, mind you, this team can end up winning the World Cup just as much as they can end up getting knocked out in the first round. See how much, that is a lot. That is quite a bit to be analyzing and saying, well, Argentina get knocked out in the first round, just like they could win the entire World Cup. That is a whole gamut of options. That you were really having to look at a lot of circumstances and a lot of issues and a lot of scenarios to occur for one or the other to occur. Argentina seem to not have what it takes to thrive in stability. Therefore, their instability is what makes them a bit more compelling. Their instability is what makes them such a team that people are intrigued about. Their instability is what's caused this generation that has probably played alongside one of the greatest players that have ever lived to have struggled mightily from a collective standpoint, not necessarily individually, but from a collective standpoint, to struggle so much when international play begins. Sampaoli has not found a solution. Yet you hear him talking about solutions and styles and all these other things. A 2-3-3-2 with, Messi behind Kun Agüero or all these cockamamie ideas that Sampaoli has come up with that might work. That might be just crazy enough that they could work, but they could be an absolute disaster. That's what's so worrying for fans. That's why it's so worrying for some journalists. The fate of Argentina in this World Cup in Russia, because so many things can happen and so many things can go right, yet so many things can go wrong, yet so many things can go right and so few things can go wrong that it can end up being a disaster. Yet it could be one of the most glorious moments in World Cup history for this team. That's why it's such an enigma. That's why it's such a team that you end up looking at and you end up questioning what they can do. Are all these players the right ones? My formula has always been, when you talk about players and call-ups and finalists and things of that nature, is how much is that player that was left out? And there's been some cases, and we can look at Romario in 98 with Brazil. We can look at Caniggia in 98 as well with Argentina. He was left off that list. Riquelme in 2002. There's been others, and I can't name them all off the top of my head. But any of these players from Argentina that have been left off the list, the Icardis, if you replace them with whoever, you do that exercise on your own. and start answering these questions. If you take out Dybala and you bring in Icardi, does Argentina all of a sudden become that much better? If you take out Icardi and you bring in Higuain, which is the more natural substitution, does Argentina become that much better? That has always been the question that I asked. Does the team become that much better of a team if X player replaces Y player? You really don't have that upgrade. There's really not that upgrade as far as the team is concerned. And that is why you start to see people question. But you really, 90 to 95% of the time when you ask that question, hey, why didn't they call up? Usually it means that that player is not that much of an upgrade. That's pretty much what this has become. This is pretty much why Argentina, and you hear people talking about Ricardo Centurion, how can you not have him? Have you seen, for those of you who aren't familiar with him, the issues that he's had off the pitch? Now some will say, well, it's only for a World Cup. You're not trying to sign him on a 2-year contract. Yes, but those types of players tend to be very problematic. Centurion was trying to bribe a policeman because of a failed DUI test. He had been in car accidents. He has had issues in his personal life. He's had types of altercations with fans, with girlfriends. He's been a very problematic individual, and he always says, hey, trouble always finds me. Yeah, but he always tends to find trouble as well. He ends up being just as bad or just as destructive to his career by meeting trouble halfway. But yet many in Argentina want him to be that player that makes the difference. They think that he's Maradona if he's able to. Lautaro Martinez, another player. Tremendously talented player that Inter most likely will get. But he is too much of a hothead. He does have that issue. He's a fantastic player. And when he's on, there are few players right now under 21 years of age that could be as entertaining to watch as Lautaro Martinez. That being said, there are few players his age that are as emotionally and mentally explosive as him. Many are talking about Argentina needing a leader. Who is that? Who's the leader? There really isn't one. Maybe Mascherano. And a Mascherano that right now is pretty much on his last legs in China. A Mascherano that maybe they've brought in Gago, they brought in Bolatti. That was Maradona back in 2010. And in the end, it was Mascherano in the middle. 2014, they're trying to get rid of him again, but in the end, it was Mascherano being arguably one of the best, if not the best player for Argentina in that World Cup, especially during that knockout stage run on forward. But Mascherano's always there. For better or for worse. For better as far as him contributing, for worse because he's deteriorated significantly in the past few years as far as movement and as far as consistency. He can play as a central defender, yes he can. But does he become a liability there? So you put him out as a holding midfielder, what do you do? That's the big question mark. A lot of question marks with this Argentina side. But then again, let's look at the reality. There really aren't that many players in Argentina that end up making this team mind-blowing. Well, let me correct that. There's one. And it's Messi. And with Messi they live, with Messi they die, and Messi is all about striving forward and going and battling and looking and trying to dream about a possibility of something happening, but it's not going to if he's not the one that makes it happen himself. For himself, to himself, and sometimes by himself. That's the biggest problem with Lionel Messi. And I seem to sound crazy when I say that's the biggest problem with him. That he has to run, he has to mark, he has to defend, he has to pass, he has to run, he has to go and run into space to get his own pass in order to cross it in so he can be able to finish it himself while everybody else watches. And it was a great quote by Pipa Benedetto a few days ago when he said, you know what? I have to look at Messi as a teammate. I can't look at Messi as the best player in the world. because if I do look at him as the best player in the world, I'm just going to be watching him. And to be honest with you, many of his teammates are his friends and have had beautiful relationships with him. But at the end of the day, they are friends of the best player in the world. And in some aspects, Pipa Benedetto's right. When you do have the best player in the world by your side, you do tend to do a lot of ball watching. Hey everyone, just wanted to ask you for a little favor. Wanted you to see if you could subscribe to Beyond the Pitch over on iTunes, as well as check it out on our different audio platforms, wherever you consume your podcast or your audio content. Make sure you check out Beyond the Pitch and you go over there and subscribe so you can be up to date with what's going on and what Phil and I are bringing you on a consistent basis. Lots of great interviews coming up. Have one that's kind of a pseudo interview, pseudo class study, and you'll understand what I'm talking about when it comes. So I will let you know with Carolina Garcia over in Argentina. She runs one of the largest businesses when it comes to trying to empower women's soccer in Latin America, and she's been a major proponent of it in Argentina. I'll talk to you a little bit more about that in the coming weeks. Have guys like Bira Brazil, Yanage Tjortov coming on as well. A lot of other ones, and I still have a very special guest, and I'm not even telling Phil. That's how special it is in the coming weeks. Also, a lot of other things as far as Beyond the Pitch are concerned, as I'm taking actually the show on the road. I'll be in Jamaica, as I will be part of Sportsmax's World Cup commentary team and analysis team during that entire tournament. Make sure you check it out, and make sure you check out Beyond the Pitch. Beyond the Pitch, man, as we will be doing a lot. I'll be doing a lot from Jamaica. I'll be doing a lot from other parts as well. And also this summer, ICC. If you're around, make sure you follow Phil and I, as we're going to be on the road as well. Looking forward to all the fun, looking forward to all the people we're going to meet, and looking forward to offering you the best content possible. So make sure you go iTunes, everywhere else. Make sure you subscribe. And on iTunes, make sure you subscribe. Leave a review. Leave a rating. 1 star. Well, we understand we could do better. 5. You guys are legends, and we love you. It's not that we don't love you with 1 star. It's just we do love you a lot with 5, that's for sure. So make sure you follow us as well on Twitter at Beyond the Pitch. You can follow me at JuanG_Rango. You can also check out my YouTube channel, which is The Normal Juan, as we will have a lot of content there. And we'll also start putting up old interviews from Beyond the Pitch, both in English and in Espanol, for all my Spanish-speaking friends. So make sure you check it out. All right, talk to you soon.